If there's one place on Earth that truly hints at an ancient civilization far more advanced than our history books admit, it's Baalbek. And today, we're standing right where the mystery begins, the quarry. Just look at this giant. For over 2 millennia, experts have argued about who built the massive stone platform at Baalbek. Archaeologists, historians, theorists, everyone has tried to crack the code. A local archaeologist even walked us through the site, insisting the Romans simply abandoned this block unfinished. Some blame missing records, others blame aliens. But the stone in front of us, known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, weighs a staggering 1,200 tons. Yes, 1,200 tons, and yet the Romans proudly claimed ownership of it. Today, AI says otherwise. Researchers fed every measurement, every angle, every detail into a simulation system. After running countless scenarios, it came back with one conclusion. The Romans didn't build it. Someone else did. Someone we never expected. Hidden in Lebanon lies a stone so enormous, so unreal, that your brain refuses to accept it's man-made. And this is just one of several. Inside ancient Baalbek sit blocks so heavy they don't just bend logic, they obliterate it. Some weigh over 1,500 tons. That's more than 3 jumbo jets, or 200 adult elephants stacked together. How these stones were cut, shaped, transported almost a kilometer, and then lifted into place is still a mystery. The craftsmanship is so precise that you couldn't slide a razor blade between the joints. This isn't primitive work, it's near-perfect engineering. At first glance, Baalbek fits the Roman look. Giant columns, detailed temples, fancy inscriptions. Everything screams Roman architecture. But once you walk past the Temple of Jupiter and Bacchus, the truth reveals itself. Beneath the Roman monuments lies a foundation that doesn't match anything the Romans ever built. A platform made of stone so huge, so ancient, so precisely set that it completely contradicts Roman engineering. One of these blocks, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, stretches 68 feet long and stands the size of a luxury tour bus cut from solid limestone. And then it gets crazier. In 2014, archaeologists uncovered another block in the quarry, even larger. More than 1,650 tons, never moved, untouched for thousands of years. To lift something like that using human strength, you'd need 16,000 people, each holding far more than a human body could handle. So how on earth was it ever moved? Engineering manuals tell us the strongest Roman cranes could lift about 300 tons. And even that is stretching it. So how do you raise a block 5 times heavier, position it 20 feet in the air, and set it down with perfect accuracy? That's where artificial intelligence came in. Researchers loaded Baalbek's dimensions into a physics-based AI simulation platform. They tested everything: rope teams, pulley systems, Roman cranes, ramps, scaffolding. Every theory humans ever proposed. Out of 50,000 simulations, the results were brutal. Every scenario failed. Some techniques snapped under pressure, others crumbled mid-movement. A few methods worked, but only with modern materials like steel and machinery ancient people didn't have. And the biggest problem wasn't lifting. It was transporting the stones. Even if someone could lift a 1,500-ton block, which the Romans couldn't, how would they drag it across uneven terrain, uphill, without shattering it or crushing hundreds of workers? Yet, somehow, someone did. Someone with engineering precision beyond anything credited to the Romans, Egyptians, or Greeks. The AI didn't care about legends or temple inscriptions. It didn't care about Roman pride. It simply crunched the numbers, and the numbers said the same thing every time. Whoever built Baalbek's foundation was operating on a completely different level. Not primitive, not lucky, not mythical. They were organized, methodical, industrial. They used knowledge passed down through generations. Their tools weren't random chisels. They were part of a system. Mathematics and measurements weren't optional. They were essential. This builder civilization left behind no written documents, no names, no monuments describing their methods. All they left were the stones. The Romans, for all their accomplishments, never again attempted anything close to this scale. Not at Palmyra, not in Rome, not even at the Pantheon. They simply built on top of what they found, because they recognized genius when they saw it. And now, with AI reconstructing the impossible, we're finally seeing the truth. This wasn't manpower. It wasn't slaves. It wasn't brute force. It was engineering, advanced, precise engineering that predates the Roman Empire. And that is what AI uncovered. It didn't descend from the sky or read ancient alien codes. It just did what humans couldn't. It ran the math. Using gravity models, friction analysis, terrain simulations, and human limit predictions, tens of thousands of tests, the AI exposed a construction reality we can't ignore. The foundation beneath Baalbek is not Roman. It belongs to something older, something smarter, something we're only beginning to understand. The investigation began with a straightforward idea: feed an AI system every known detail about Baalbek's largest megaliths. Some archaeological evidence even suggests Baalbek could date back to 6,000 to 9,000 BC. Then the researchers added everything we know about Roman engineering and pressed run. Almost immediately, the machine began crossing theories off the list. Ramp models collapsed first. To pull a 1,600-ton block up even a mild slope, the ramp would need to reach over 100 feet high and stretch hundreds of feet long, requiring more material than the entire complex itself. The AI flagged the concept as absurdly inefficient. Rollers were even worse. Wooden beams snapped under the weight. Pressure points shattered the stone, and elevation changes ruined every attempt. Lever systems and pulleys also failed. Roman cranes topped out around 300 tons. A stone 6 times heavier wasn't going anywhere. What about massive human teams? Even simulations with 10,000 workers didn't work. Coordination broke down long before the block ever budged. The AI didn't hesitate. Logistically, impossible. So what did work? Surprisingly, only one thing showed promise: modular sledging. Multiple connected sledges distributed the load across several platforms. Each sledge adjusted to the terrain's angle and used layers of lubrication, things like animal fat, wet clay, or powdered limestone, to reduce drag. The runners were curved to grip the ground and built from reinforced hardwood. And then, finally, after nearly 50,000 failed simulations, the AI found its first success. With precisely prepared terrain, strict coordination, and a workforce of around 500 to 1,000 highly trained laborers, the stone could theoretically be moved across flat or gently sloped ground. Every material the AI used existed during the Bronze Age. No modern steel, no fantasy tools. Once transportation became plausible, the AI asked the next question: how do you lift and position something bigger than a house and heavier than a modern warship, fitting it into a wall with hair-width precision? Traditional ideas fell apart again, but in every scenario that worked, the AI noticed the same thing. This level of construction required a system, not just tools. When the simulation zoomed out to consider the entire operation, labor schedules, food supplies, quarry coordination, terrain preparation, weather patterns, tool maintenance, the AI discovered something extraordinary. It was looking at an organized industrial workflow: training cycles, step-by-step construction phases, backup plans if a stone cracked, and entire supply chains designed around moving these monsters. The system wasn't random. It was inherited, refined through generations until perfected. And that brings us right back to Baalbek's foundation. Because if the Romans didn't orchestrate this, and their engineering limits prove they couldn't, then whoever built the original platform had methods and organizational skills we've never found in any surviving text. AI didn't reveal a magical lost technology. It revealed discipline, structure, and knowledge, the signs of a civilization operating on a level of coordination nearly equal to modern project management. And if that's true, then the builders of Baalbek weren't just advanced. They may be a civilization we've completely forgotten. History gives the Romans credit for Baalbek, and at surface level, they earned it. The columns, the marble, the temples all radiate Roman ambition, but the deeper you dig, the stranger it gets. Because the Romans never started from scratch here. They built on top of something far older. The lowest layers of Baalbek, the megalithic foundation, are nothing like Roman construction anywhere else in the empire. The closest comparison might be Herod's platform in Jerusalem, but even that falls short in size, precision, and engineering sophistication. These foundation stones weren't decorative. They were intentional, measured, shaped, load-bearing, capable of resisting earthquakes, and fitted so tightly they needed no mortar at all. Romans didn't build like this. They relied heavily on concrete, fast, strong, efficient. They never dealt with 1,500-ton stones. There was no reason to. It was wasteful, dangerous, and inefficient by their standards. So why would they suddenly change their entire engineering philosophy just for Baalbek? They didn't. They found a platform already there, one that had endured for ages, and simply adapted their temples to sit on top of it. The Temple of Jupiter aligns almost surgically with the megalithic base. That isn't coincidence. That's reuse. This shifts the entire timeline. Because if the Romans built on a pre-existing foundation, then the true builders came much earlier, and their methods were entirely different. AI reinforced this by analyzing the stone joins. The megalithic blocks show interlocking edges so perfectly matched that earthquakes haven't moved them in over 2,000 years. No mortar, no gaps, no shifting. Meanwhile, the Roman sections above them have cracked, eroded, and required reinforcement. That's not a stylistic difference. That's a skill gap, a massive one. And it leads us to an uncomfortable but unavoidable question. Who built the original foundation? Historians have tossed around a few names: a powerful maritime culture, skilled traders, temple builders, but they left zero evidence of cutting stones on this scale, not even legends, let alone engineering manuals. The Phoenicians? Their cities like Tyre and Sidon were compact and practical, not filled with massive stone platforms or architectural giants. They never attempted anything remotely close to Baalbek's scale. The Canaanites? Closely related culturally, but again, nothing in their archaeological record hints at moving stones larger than 10 to 20 tons. Their focus was spiritual traditions, not monumental engineering. The Egyptians? They certainly had ambition, and they mastered logistics on a grand scale. But they didn't operate this far north, and they never constructed precision-fitted megaliths in Lebanon. Their style relied on mortar, ramps, and layered block stacking, not seamless, interlocking giants weighing over 1,000 tons. So we're left staring at an engineering tradition so advanced, so intentional, that it doesn't align with any known civilization in the region. AI models caught this gap immediately. When researchers fed in chisel marks, stone joins, and logistical requirements, the system failed to match the foundation stones to anything Roman or pre-Roman. Instead, it labeled the construction style as anomalous, not mystical, just unfamiliar. Whoever these builders were, their identity has vanished. Their language is gone. Their written records, if they had any, haven't survived. Their tools are missing. All that remains are the stones themselves, but AI may have uncovered their signature. Across the massive blocks at Baalbek's base, the same geometric ratios repeat over and over. Even more surprising, these exact proportions appear in a handful of other enigmatic structures scattered across the Levant. This isn't evidence of a global ancient supercivilization, nothing that extreme, but it does point towards something undeniable. Deep in humanity's past existed a culture with refined engineering knowledge, a culture that intended its work to last forever. Every generation believes it's the smartest in history until it finds something that shouldn't exist. Baalbek is exactly that sort of discovery. Its size is intimidating, yes, but what truly unsettles historians is its accuracy. The stones haven't shifted through centuries of earthquakes. Their joints remain perfectly aligned. Their edges still catch sunlight with razor-sharp clarity, almost like machined metal. Whoever built this didn't just move stones. They understood stone, and that knowledge, whatever it was, vanished. Researchers fed every precise measurement of Baalbek into advanced AI models and asked the system to search thousands of ancient sites for structural similarities. The results were shocking. The same tapering joints found at Baalbek appear in Machu Picchu. The same angled corner braces exist on the Giza Plateau. The same shock-absorbing base design shows up in early Andean structures in Peru. Different cultures, different continents, yet somehow the engineering vocabulary overlaps. That alone changes the story because it suggests that ancient people, oceans apart and centuries apart, discovered similar advanced techniques and then let them disappear. And history shows this pattern again and again. The Romans invented concrete that survives in seawater. Then the formula was forgotten for a millennium. Gothic cathedrals used acoustic ratios no one could decipher until recently. Ancient China produced steel so advanced that later dynasties couldn't replicate it. So why is it hard to believe Baalbek's builders possess knowledge we no longer have? When AI ran simulations using only proven Roman engineering methods, the entire platform failed every test. But when it added theoretical techniques consistent with the stone patterns, things like layered load distribution, pivot lift joints, and dynamically shaped ramps, suddenly the models worked. These weren't one-time tricks. They were methods refined over long periods, taught across generations, and then erased by time. Maybe Baalbek isn't just a foundation. Maybe it's a message carved into stone. This was once possible, and then it was forgotten. None of these ancient cultures left behind their machinery, if such machinery existed, but they left behind the results, and those results are exactly what AI is decoding. Then the system uncovered something even more subtle. The measurements, the spacing, the proportions, they follow a pattern, precise, mathematical, repeated deliberately. Baalbek's base wasn't eyeballed, it was calculated. But who was doing that math? There are no scrolls, no diagrams, no records of master architects, which leaves only two possibilities. Either the builders trusted the stones to speak for themselves, or they never imagined their knowledge would be lost. But it was. So what disappeared? Just the techniques, or the entire civilization behind them? AI doesn't give us the final answer, but it allows us to ask questions we couldn't ask before. By reading the stones the way a historian reads ancient texts, it reveals alignment choices, friction strategies, force vectors, seismic planning. It shows that the builders weren't guessing. They understood physics, they understood materials, they understood earthquakes, and then they vanished. If a disaster erased them, their expertise died with them. If an empire absorbed them, their systems were replaced. Either way, a vast body of knowledge vanished from human memory. AI politely calls it unrecorded knowledge. But in reality, Baalbek looks like the shadow of something far greater, a civilization that reached for immortality and almost achieved it. Stone is all that survived, and now machine learning is treating that stone like the pages of a forgotten book. When artificial intelligence entered the picture, it wiped away speculation. It tested every tool, every terrain layout, every plausible method, and in doing so, it confirmed what many had quietly suspected for years. The Romans were not the original architects. The foundation beneath Baalbek predates them, and its creators weren't improvising. They operated with long-term planning, precise mathematics, and infrastructure-level organization. They were engineers, in the truest sense of the word, and they built something Rome could never reproduce. Roman temples stand on top of the platform, but the Romans didn't construct the platform itself. Their own masonry has cracked and aged. The megalithic foundation, untouched by time, hasn't moved in thousands of years. For generations, that difference was ignored, dismissed, or explained away. Most people never noticed it at all. But Baalbek exposes a truth we rarely consider. Human history doesn't always move forward. Sometimes it forgets. AI simulations proved construction on this scale was possible, not with alien technology, but with coordination and knowledge we didn't realize ancient people possessed. And when the simulation finally succeeded, everything changed, because whoever built that platform wasn't just strong, they were brilliant, and they lived long before the Romans arrived. If engineering like this could vanish once, what else have we lost? Stone endured, and now the only intelligence capable of reading it is artificial.